Now, I mean, the public really does focus on matric results and there's a huge fuss around it. Would you say that there is too much focus on that? And what are the indicators for quality education?
I definitely think that we place too much emphasis on the matric pass rate and just the matric results in general. I mean, I was reading a tweet where it said, why are we treating this like a beauty pageant? Why do we need the suspense when we release these kinds of results? And I think I've got a lot of sympathy with that. I think that this is the end of the race, if you think about it. And when we ask why are things going wrong here, matric actually starts in grade 1.
Absolutely.
So if we think about it, of 100 students that started school 12 years ago, only 61 of them actually made it to matric this year and wrote it, or in 2015.
Sure.
Of those, 41 passed, and of the 41 that passed, only 15 qualified to go to university. And now not all of those 15 will actually go to university. It's just the students that are qualifying. If we compare that to last year, only 14 qualified to go to university. So there is, again, a slight improvement in the number of students that are qualifying to pass, to get a diploma, and to go to university, which is a positive thing. But what happens to those 40 students that drop out of the system on the way? Largely unemployment. 50% youth unemployment between the ages of 18 and 24, double the national average. The prospects for these students are extremely bleak. So I think what we really need to be doing is focusing on the foundation phase in grades 1, 2, and 3, and ensuring that every single child learns to read for meaning by the end of grade 3. So this is a critical period where the curriculum wants them and needs them to learn how to read in the first 3 years, and after that they read to learn. So it's learning to read, then reading to learn. And if you can't read properly, you can't access the curriculum.
Absolutely.
You don't actually understand what's going on in the classroom. And in the research, we call this silently excluded. So even though you're physically in the classroom, you actually can't engage with the curriculum and learn. It becomes an extremely mind-numbing and boring process if you're a student that doesn't know what's going on in the classroom. So yeah, I would definitely say we need to place more emphasis on primary school, and within primary school, the foundation phase, to ensure that all children are getting the foundational skills in numeracy and literacy. I mean, we know that these students are between 3 and 4 grade levels behind where they should be.
Yeah.
So even though they're physically in grade 9, if we look at what they can actually do, they're actually in grade 4 or grade 5. Now, how do you take a student like that from there to matric in 3 or 4 years?
Absolutely.
It's impossible. You can do it with one child, you can do it with 5 children, with a very dedicated teacher. You can't do it with 600,000 children. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in now. Yeah.
I hear you. You know, today there's been a launch of the Second Chance program by the Minister of Basic Education. Do you see any value in that when we're sitting with such staggering differences in the classroom itself?
I think it's definitely an initiative that's worth trying. I would say, you know, there are a lot of initiatives that are worth trying, but we need to evaluate them. So someone should actually be saying at the end of the Second Chance program, did this thing actually work? Rather than just throwing money at it and saying, we're giving these people a second chance. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've discharged our responsibility. Throwing money at a problem doesn't solve the problem.
Absolutely.
We actually need to see, okay, of those students, how many of them actually went on to pass matric? Evaluate the program and say, for the money that we spent, how many students passed matric? Was it worth it or not? And that's very rarely done in government, is actually evaluating these kinds of programs. So that being said, yes, let's try it, see what happens. And then if it doesn't work, we need to change it or do something different next year. And as I mentioned, if these students are 4 or 5 years behind the curriculum, so even though they're in grade 12, maybe they're actually cognitively, in terms of what they can do in maths and science and language, are actually at a grade 8 level. No amount of quick catch-up program is going to get you 5 years worth of learning in a 2-month program or even a year-long program. So yeah, I have to say I'm skeptical of that program. It's worth trying, but it should be evaluated. And if it does succeed, it's one of the few ones that's ever succeeded, because we have a lot of these programs and almost none of them work.